An acquaintance of mine, another post-grad self-inducted into the ever-expanding subprime loan system, received a message on his newfangled tattletale contraption everyone that age keeps glued to their palm, as if they were dyslexic fortune-tellers. It came from a private number he could not block. The complete message, now renowned in some circles, follows intact. Any personal information has been muted. Hello. This message is for concerning his student loan repayment plan, formerly with, which is in the process of a third-party resettlement. And yeah, as you made me call back twice, your slaughter will lack celerity, deadbeat cocksucker. Perhaps you've come to understand who has at this juncture purchased your debt, and the utter seriousness with which it is incumbent upon you to address said issue in person. An event that will occur regardless of whatever hidey-hole under your mother's skirt, dangling off the bristly swing set betwixt her pork-chop labia, her Munchausen slut combustion slung over you like suntanning in scuba gear, a vast death mask in reverse, TP sour balls sprinkled on top, apron strings of yeast stuffed up the dead kitten you thought you had to be to avoid installments. How's that for English 101, my little ring around the clit, you fucking vulva embezzlement, Jolly Rancher messiah? Speaking of your mother's cunt, let's just say what plopped out of it is up for grabs wholesale. Scalp yourself in preparation. You'll be halfway there. Don't skim the blade all the way down to your twinkle toes, fairy fuck. If the money ain't forthcoming, if you become a papyral blip crossed the lettering on my brass knuckles perchance, will induce cessation of the contract you signed 5 fucking years ago, when your placenta was still in cursive, punk. Shut to a close like an unwound sphincter mid-death rattle. Use your lopsidedly cuntish pickpocketed degree to add that policy up. I seen you growing tits inside your hovel, in a fungal basement, like a tick stuck to a fucking paragraph. Put on a tutu and start memorizing the Book of the Dead, 'cause you're the fucking protagonist, dizzy twat. You've been dying since the land before time, and I promise your rattle will take forever. I hear you at night suck the neighbor's dog for treats while your kindly mother pops off on the spires where she grew the brain I now circumstantially own. What the fuck world are you in, shit smear, where restitution is allowed such an egregious girth? You lost in the skunked paneling of your mama's final tampon? Are you her riled abridgment puttering secretly, bonked on language of divorced of dough? You must have been the meal that wrecked her oven, fucking welfare clot, baby bottle herpes. You stink like a broke joypad and the video game is cottage cheese. You fucking smegma copyright. How many McDonald's threw your fucking application in the fryer, hot shot? You can only get to know yourself by squatting beneath a ladder, butt boy. You were born out your father's cock into some janky plastering, then mandraked into a foreclosed lisp. You come from boiled sperm, chicken shit flambe. Soiled syrup flapjacks bleat within you. You got a big chunk of hobo jism tied around your life. Better start counting the blood in your stool, 'cause I'm gonna collect something, slab princess. Forensic rube. Gangbang constipation by proxy pap smear lackey. Coin pouch adjunct. You're scheduled for a tire fitting at the morgue. You sleep at this location 2-1 on Avenue, zip code Bon voyage, Richter's head. A rather discerning voicemail. Perhaps you can relate to threats of this nature, surpassing the softer side of a repayment agreement. Not that the young aren't in a stiflingly anxious and rampant career scramble as it is, having been plummeted somewhere below collective fatalism in regard to the rarity of a pliable living, the routine of marriage and mortgage having lost a bit of its supposed splendor these days. Maybe some zombies ek by, enough do, too many, but these sensitive intellects so nurtured by their schoolyard indoctrinations, kids in their 20s, brains not yet fully formed, and that's a medical truth. Whiny, perhaps misled avatars for the causes their teachers and journalists fantasized into a group forfeiture while profiting from their usury. There's astray and then there's suicide as rite of passage. Though these platitudes were arrived at not entirely without a reason, right dominance to left. These kids, sans any leadership that isn't grim or perverse, are shoveled by the shift across a germ warfare of customers, the only remaining jobs left being those in the lower bowels of retail, soon to be replaced by low IQ machines, praying to the cruel demons of income contingent repayment plans forever docked into senility, grown old alone besides a wrinkled fuck buddy, or none, swapping venereal situations in front of doctors run by pill companies, lost in that abysmal stature. They brought this upon themselves, sure, a staunch and arrogant summation as dismal as whichever previous mess that begot theirs. What excuse can whoever so greatly benefits from such a generation-wide lack of foresight hide behind? Now they have a live haunting to come to terms with, one of many acute manifestations, and I found him, through much nervous inquiry. He is here today, nameless, of course, as his work demands. I do appreciate a frank demeanor in allowing a modicum of comprehension for your innovative economic recruitment process, a sort of indentured servant hunter, if the lightest contemporary and ironic usage of that term applies.
Fancy enough order to them words, Chief. This fucking guy, what a kooky roost, warming your pantyhose. Hatching some diamonds in his yoke. Lucky for you, your debts lie elsewhere, Teach. No one called dibs on your caboose, but, do they sell tickets to the train they should pull on you for enunciating that coddled batch of trinkets there? All with such gorgeous elan? Nah, you group 'em good, Professor Ballsack. I think your pacifier came with Latin captioning on the suck noise. I'm busting your balls, but look out, because I will, in fact, literally, as queers on the fucking intranets say, and I don't mean homosexuals, I just mean 90% of men today. Don't get me wrong, you know. Or please, do get me wrong. Fuck it clamped inside where no biology could reach. Till I cut a path so deep all your lies about gender flexibility would turn fucking true. But what I'm saying is, yeah, I've sliced a couple lobes out their casing in the night. No excuses, no second chances, no more reasoning. I barter with no man, or woman, by the way. I'm very egalitarian when it comes to agony. The top-hatted, bougie bums of this country been supported long enough. Been propped up on their parents' knees and the cartilage just got runny. Call it a big, long con, sting if you want to force your shit show on a government. That's how the world do, bitch. You get diddled. You're just more pudding on a tarp. Sign the fucking papers, $20K a year for 4 years, scratch out a willy-nilly living afterwards. Cobble your strife into an SSI lie. then I give you a free fucking education, and it's condoned, ordained even. Ain't nothing confounding about it. No modern dance to how I splay you, unless the gases you release are fucking postmodern. Real naturalistic, something closer to a psalm, you might say. You're saying private loan companies and the government both turn a disapproving yet silently encouraging blind eye to the fact that you have stalked, harassed, raped, mutilated, tortured, and murdered upwards of 200 graduates?
They wash their hands of me. I wash my hands in pee. So many piss their britches.
Too busy filing charges on their boyfriends 'cause he sneezed in his sleep one time to reckon with genuine terror. Just because I enjoy my work don't make me unprofessional. And guess how many loans are paid in full? I bet people pay up quick. I'm checking my wallet and I'm not even on the list. Most ante up after the first message is issued. Step 2. If they seem like they can gather funds somehow, I encourage this by placing a present where they sleep, something soggy, cliché as that might sound. They then usually comply wholeheartedly. These ain't brave people. There's been a definite uptick in payment, but as they say, Santa Claus likes to let his milk grow some skin. These little shedding rats prefer the corner they live in, I think. No worries, I got the good poison. What is the deciding factor in inciting you to violence against those who default? I come calling when it's clear they plan to ignore their responsibility on a permanent basis. When the cost of their interest outdoes the viability of any progress, or if the slightest chipping away ain't underway, then I'm greenlit. Is the charge of privilege against your victims its own excuse for such mayhem, and what is the larger organization that benefits? Isn't it more profitable to drain students' minimum wage over a lifetime regardless of recovery due to interest rates? Them dead presidents drown back to life in the blood on my glove. I am the sole beneficiary. All other concerns revolve around the work itself and the artistry thereof. I drive a new car to every hit. Does it come down to whose parents' basement has the loftiest paneling? Is it because this abandoned class of overeducated semi-servants have become a reinvented variety of dandy, a male mistress conundrum to the tune of Rothschild's Monsieur Venus, the low to middle classes disguising themselves as funky aristocrats? Is this the source of the hatred from those in trades to the actual rich, and why are these crimes being so openly applauded across the media? There's too cerebral, then there's daft, then there's all this shit your head just inflated. But shouldn't this casting of a business model around one's 20s be less draconian in practice and not continue presenting itself as the choke point of every career path, which it isn't? Shouldn't they only offer a detailed loan option exclusive to the few technical degrees that actually pay out? Or could they not make the servitude more clear and direct? Colleges incorporated the option of extensive on-campus job training? Is it because no functioning system wants to outweigh the potential of its betterment against the risk of collapse? So each minor improvement is parceled out over a cosmetically safe and complacent stretch of time. Must the state always become venereal with big business and vice versa? And will the mainstream finally disentangle itself from the misinformation that colleges provide any mass utility? They're a minor and specialized thing, not a source of pride or shame or a cost benefit. Why is this fallacy still so incumbent of a con? Is there no path toward instruction, no enlightenment the young can be caulked with to overcome this cyclical and corrupt situation? Must men like you remain the scavenging profiteers of everything sullied by its own potential?
Your spine must get sore propped that deep beneath the world. Perhaps as a palliative, I could share a positive experience of mine.
I have a theory that the millennial source of contention began with the popularization of the Harry Potter franchise.
What the fuck is that?
Kids' books and films. They incentivized bullied kids into the glittering gold of the magic trophies they were handed nonstop for participation. This woman put a big encouraging halo around unearned specialness and trained children to read with their eyes wet and their minds readably simple as possible. She sprinkled fairy dust on a generation that never got punched, and look what happens.
On and on you go, speculating and instigating. Come here. See how I fit your head in one hand? You're a rather kittenish man. The right amount insecure. I like that. You pat yourself down for attention. Listen here, pal. No species stands above a bullet. This is the procedure. Give you an idea how I operate. So few of these ingrates ever think to beg me. Says a lot about them. You're right. Their entertainment is commiserate with dropping fast before a confrontation. Rough to discover how special they aren't. It's like stripping meat off the same skull and rewind all day. I'd suffer depression if there were no anomalies. Some of these dude targets, sprites, are busying their eyes. Thumb warriors of the gaming system. They think they can fight. Maybe they got some grade school weapons lying around. They'll feign confusion at my presence, lock up mostly, freeze, play dumb. There's those who crumple delightfully. Let me specify. If you meet me face to face at that point, you're just a message I'm leaving behind to scare the others. You could throw me $1 million, I'll take it. You're still dying a mean death. I bring a cooler sometimes. I make sandwiches. I set up shop, get comfy. Something unique will happen eventually when their eyes bulge free. I'll involve a parent. Bring the whole family. Why not? They're complicit. I like an audience. Mom gets home early, hears a noise, stumbles downstairs. Her and Dad gotta offer me this and that to spare the rod, their dime a dozen sacrifice. Call some rich uncle who don't exist. Yeah, I value their feedback. The favor I grant is they join their baby in heaven. No more lowly lolling with the credit karma. In this manner, I'm like a more persistent Kevorkian, just as merciful. Bring these lives they confusedly insist on living to a pissed-out close. Say I balked and they did live. Your parents are rot-ass old, guy. They couldn't pay your debts for you. You think the pittance they leave behind ain't getting divvied up between the government and lawyers and funeral homes? Them spoils are manja for the system you were too busy picketing to escape, dummy. They'll soon be squatters in their baby bedroom on state-owned land, another zombie in the street soliciting as per usual. I'm a new type of school counselor. The need arose. I mean, these chumps want to live life married to their alien parents? Okay, Mr. Freud. I make them act that fantasy out in the physical domain if I'm bored enough. Screw both of them, raw dog kid. His birthday cake's too fucking wet to chew.
Anyway, never a big struggle. The fun is in the disassembly. Except, this one kid went batshit. I almost panicked when he grappled me. I ran afoul of the fucking Karate Kid. He was small but agile with his balance. One of those jujitsu geeks, an engineer of his own space. I know your more basic combos. Spread my training around the disciplines. I'm mostly a tools guy. But I'm big and I got natural talent. A somewhat demonic pain threshold. And I fight to the death like Tyson, for instance. It was never a game for him neither. So this twerp caught me off guard with a skill of his own. Who would imagine a deadbeat effective at applying, well, anything? Very rare indeed. How he died was my best elation. I'm an even more rank beast with my back against the wall. Lash my teeth in his nose. You can't train away that level of pain. Right to the sinus. Swallowed his sneeze for him from the inside. Supreme kill. Influential. I changed my method after him. In the ass of night I slip in bed with them. Start purring till they wake in my arms. Then I don't need to explain myself much, just enough so they know why before I begin. Not that it matters. All that matters is the tableau I leave for forensics. They're my biggest fans. You know, if you don't let them lose consciousness, people come right the fuck apart in the ansious trip backward through evolutionary annulment. Big fucking U-turn to the pre-mammal ghoul beneath any pretension of a soul. When you are killing someone, you strip them down to the animal beneath their flesh. And you see the bare automaton writhing within the shell, its own separate life exposed, squirming to articulate its horror, spasmodically jerking with incomprehension at what this second layer of life could be, scorched into the puberty of an oncoming atmosphere, part reptile, part monkey, shrieking through its eyes, darting in bottomless terror, the palsied zoology that steers us all. Not to sound like one of these nihilist kids, took too many philosophy classes. Of course they can't pay. That's a challenge. They think it's cute to talk hell and Satan as if LaVey's church ain't just fucking social justice types now. Like this stupid show's goofy symbol. The rock star flag on your half-a-retro manhood death metal sure is neat. Real dark. I like the boss myself. But I show these ex-students pseudo-hot-ons. Hell is just comfort food where I come from. These nihilist kids, they think they welcome their own demise. Huh. They must be given direct passage to the depths of which they speak. One in a flat affectation told me once. He went to Catholic school, grew up in a rough neighborhood, and, most intimidating, was once married. So what the fuck torture could I do to him? Well, I got creative. In a way his aesthetic sensibilities couldn't lavish. So I stick their heads in what I call the file cabinet. A measured asphyxiation, metallic in nature, a claustrophobic bodysuit of types. Squared metal, about the size of a person, clammy interior, induces panic attacks, regulates air intake, eventuates certain pressures on the torso, compression dispensation. The metal sheets enclosing it are flexible, but they weigh down on the chest over time. I'll kick the kid around inside this attachment so their equilibrium's real squalid. Man, they come out broken like a squirrel on amphetamines, nervous system all irreparably fucked. They exit with the shit heavy in their shorts, long past the point of screaming. No more sense of time. 25% die of fright. I keep them in store. But I'll tell you this. They fucking care. Some I let live prisoners in their own body, staked on what little remains, frozen in a permanent state of discomfort and despair and slow burn anxiety, something no doctor could cure, no voice could say the symptom. Those are my dudes, en masse. Girls, more complex. They possess different modes. They pose till their glow goes quiet. But when they first assess what's coming, it's really a bad death they die. Shame how no one prepared them for it. Many offer their clam, of course. Why you bothering with sex? Should have been whoring that ass for money before I got here. When the loss of a sexual power dynamic in their language becomes apparent, when it tilts out of their favor, they snap volcanically, fall the fuck apart, infant shit. It's basically an abortion at that point, which is what they should have been anyway. I say, you got no trade left, because I'll be taking that blowjob dead or alive, honey. This one bitch had gotten herself pregnant in her situation, in her dire financial straits, looking for another handout. How arrogant. She's begging for its life as if her stomach held any of the value she came to lack. How you think that went for her baby? Learned a lot of brand new anatomical shit that day. I sent them both to hell with the exorcism of a manicure. You know, you seem like the kind of guy who... The only type of bitch paying you any mind is dizzy from reciting the fork marks you leave in her period stains. But the system at play here is so obviously suspect. You'd have to suffer from some kind of retard gout not to spot it. Some of these loan packages sponsored a sullied girlfriend for the male client. We got slut benefits to enlist if you shoot your credit for us. It's a tight organization, fronts in every commercial spread. But these bitches, the mark sometimes got the nerve to weep. He's saying, as if it weren't expected, oh no! My state-issued regulation bitch got a jungle gym up her snatch. What fucking trauma is this? Jesus Christ, man. Ain't you gonna ask me more neat shit? I can't get a word in edgewise with this cocksucker. Yes, do you feel regret? I'm joshing around with you. You're real interesting of a host, a real interesting guy. Regret for what? My victims live with me in my sleep. I pet them there. We're clutched in the same psyche till I pass. And to tell you the truth, I don't remember being young. They called me Maliacho in the crib. I'm told. Bit my twin into retardation not long after birth. We were shed on a hardwood floor because Dad used his fist as a fucking doula. Yeah, we used to play catch with a coat hanger. They both perished when the house burnt down, not too mysteriously. I was jumped at the orphanage till I got big enough to steal some butt. They called me the kidney wrecker, 'cause kids often died after my turn at sodomy, mostly 'cause my size and their being that much younger. A solid system, swank setup. Again, these histories are merely related to me, as I seem to recall about 9 decades going backwards stuck as an adult. I remember when men wore fedoras. How is that possible? You appear no older than perhaps 50. I don't know. It ain't the eating of kale, but I do recommend the pineal gland, mid-adrenaline dump, uncooked out of skull, still glitten, helps a bit. I shit righteously. I realize that you're being hyperbolic. The fear you feel is because of the proximity between us. And because I grabbed your head a little too hard, got some blood behind the ear there. My apologies. Maybe the mask isn't helping your comfort. But, what you're experiencing is just one layer of a preamble. Every tenet of my rhetoric is based on dominance, though I flip through accents depending on the client's perception. You know how to applaud a shadow, Wichly? Want me to show you how?